Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. And look, I'm sitting down. I know, very unusual. Normally we start standing and make our way down to seated poses, but today we are going to start seated. We're never going to stand all the way up. We'll do a half forward fold, so we'll come like onto our feet, but we won't stand all the way up. So you can start with your device already on the floor or on a stack of books, because we're never going to get high enough that you're going to want your device up on a shelf or a table. So go ahead and set up your device on your floor, and we are going to start seated. I'm going to back up and tell you the props that you need today. The props that you need today, a block or a thick book if you want to sit on your prop for garland squat, which is a very low squat. So this assists you in that. And then we're also going to do some knee poses today. So if you have a gardening pad or a hand towel that you want to put under your knees, so that'll help cushion your knees when we're in those poses. We are going to start in a seated pose, and I'll tell you about today's practice. It's all focusing on the root chakra. So if you think about all the different energy sources in our body, we've got our respiratory system, we've got our circulation system, we've got our muscles, we've got our skeletons, we've got all these different sources of energy. But in yoga, we have something called the chakra system, which is an energy system of 7 little, I'll call them like balls of fire. And they start from the base of your spine and go up through the crown of your head. And like the rainbow, each one has a color, like the same color as Roy G. Biv. And the first one, the root chakra, is red, just like the first color of the rainbow, and it's located at the base of the spine. So our poses today are all going to be focused on the base of the spine and rooting and grounding. So we'll be thinking a lot about stretching through the back of our pelvic girdle. And then the other thing that is associated with the chakras is an element, and because we're thinking about roots and grounding, the element for the root chakra is earth. So let's start with a hand gesture that represents Mother Earth. Take your right hand, and I'm not going to mirror image you, I'm going to use my right hand as well, and make the peace symbol, and then take those fingertips and touch the earth, and let your opposite hand just rest in your lap, palm facing up. So the open hand is a symbol of peace, and your fingertips touching the earth represent the mountain on the earth, majestic mountain. So you can think about the majesty of the mountain and the peacefulness. And you can also think about the connection between the mountain and the earth, giving you security and safety. And that's also associated with the root chakras, being safe. Just like our hierarchy of needs, we need to worry about safety and shelter and food before we can worry about the other emotional needs like learning and education. You know, it's better to be safe first and then worry about those higher needs. Same thing here, starting at the root. We think about being safe and grounded. Release that hand gesture, give it a shake, and we are going to go into potted palm. So not directly into a series of spinal warm-ups, but poses that will warm up the spine. So directly into poses today, potted palm. If this bothers your knees, by the way, to sit in a cross-legged pose, you can do potted palm with your legs extended. So listen to your body. Also, if being directly on the floor bothers your knees, you can also tuck a pillow or a block under your hips, and you can elevate your hips slightly, and that might feel better on your low back. So you can always add those optional props if you'd like. But potted palm, we're going to go into a fold as well. So if you want to, knowing that in advance, if you want to extend your legs, you can. Because the potted palm fold is going to be a stretch for the hips and more intense if your legs are crossed. Bring your hands in front, interlace your hands, lift your arms up. Now, if you have shoulder issues, maybe you only lift them up part way. Listen to your body. Range of motion is up to you. If you can, bring those arms up over your head and then bring the arms slightly behind your ears. So we're adding a stretch for the upper body here. If you want to add an extra stretch for the wrists, flip the palms to face up. We take 2 breath cycles here, stretching the spine here, elongating the spine, lift the rib cage. If you flipped your palms, go ahead and flip them back. And now we're going into that fold. So bring the arms back down in front of your chest, keep them interlaced, and now bring those pinky fingers to touch the earth. Folding from the hips. Now you can keep your chest elevated here. You don't have to drop down towards the earth, but if you like, you can come a little bit lower. That'll add a deeper stretch for those hips and low back areas. If you want, bow your head, close your eyes for a moment, potted palm fold. One more breath cycle. Release your hands and push up off the earth. Extend those legs long if they're not already there. And we're going to go into an open angle followed by open angle fold. So coming into that open V shape. Now I separated my legs just a tiny bit here. It's up to you. Again, range of motion is up to you. If it's accessible for you to open up a little bit wider, you can. Once you're in your V shape, go ahead and move the fleshy part of your bottoms away from your sit bones so you feel that good connection. Sit tall, resting your hands on your thighs, rolling your shoulder blades into your back pockets, and let's activate the calf muscles 3 times while we're still in an upright spine. Shoulders relaxed, flex the feet, and release. Flex and release. One more time, flex and release. We're activating those calf muscles in the lower legs. Now we go into our fold, placing your hands in front of your body. Now, if that's difficult to fold with your hands on the earth, you can keep your hands on your legs and fold forward with your hands supporting on your legs. You can even go down to the shins if that's better for your position. Listen to your body. It's all about honoring what your body feels. Draw the elbows down, so even if your hands are here on your thighs, let those elbows relax down and pulls the shoulders away from the ears. Breathe. You can bow your head here if you don't need to look at the screen. We're just going to hold this for 2 more breath cycles. And then we're going to add a rotation. Because again, we are still warming up the spine here. Even though we went directly into poses, I want to make sure your spine is all warmed up for the remainder of our practice today. So we're going to add rotation. Whenever you rotate, engage abdominal muscles, protect the low back. Let's keep your right hand on the earth and lift the left hand to the sky. Follow it with your gaze. And then maybe you have a shoulder issue and that's as high as you can lift. That's okay. If you can, reach up a little higher, honor your body, range of motion, always up to you. Breathe. We're rotating through the spine here, opening up through the left side body. One more breath cycle. And release that hand back down. Same thing, opposite side. Keep your left hand on the earth or on your leg, if it's on your leg. And lift the right hand up to the sky. Follow it with your gaze. Stop when you need to. Opening up the right side body. Take 2 breath cycles here. And then release that hand back down. Going into our fold. Draw that upper body towards your screen. Relax those elbows down. If it's accessible, you can crawl forward into the palm print. Your hands might be on your legs here. That's okay too. Bow your head. One more breath cycle. And start to elevate the chest. Coming back up to that vertical spine. Sweep your legs together. And we're going to go into some stretches, and then that's going to take us into a sequence where we go into that half forward fold. So if you want to be prepared to go into that half forward fold, we'll be standing but not all the way up. So make sure you can still see your screen when you're standing in that half forward fold. I'm going to show that to you from the side view, but you can continue to face forward towards your screen. Let's go into half shoelace first though and stretch those hips. Draw that right foot in, step it over, Bring the outside edge of the foot to the mat, letting the knee lower away from you. And maybe you're already starting to feel a little stretch through the right hip and the right outer thigh. Think about grounding into the earth. Remember that root chakra. And we're going to go into our fold here. This one has a round back. So internally rotate, cradle that knee with both arms. Tuck your chin to your chest, stretching the back of the neck. Exaggerate the C shape. Press out through the mid-back, stretching the thoracic spine area. You can close your eyes here. And then lower your chest towards that knee. Now we're stretching the lumbar area of the spine. Getting all three areas, cervical, thoracic, and lumbar. And if you want to add the fourth component, you're going to get a deeper stretch through the hips as well as the back of the left leg. Turn your face towards the right and bring your left cheekbone closer to the right knee. Feel that at the base of the spine. Remember that root chakra, that red ball of energy at the base of the spine. One more breath cycle here. And lift up out of the pose. Keep the leg crossed over and just let the ankle rest on the thigh, keeping the foot floating, going into seated figure 4. Bring your hands behind you so you can recline slightly, and then bend your left knee. I'm going to go into a little rocking motion here. You don't have to. You can stay here with a static pose, or push that right foot just an inch towards the left, and then come back to center. And you can go at your own pace here. Just a very small rocking motion. We're rolling onto the outside edge of the left foot. If you want more of a stretch on the hip, you can adjust the position of the left foot. If you keep it far away, it's less intense. If you move it closer, that's more intense. You'll feel that deeper stretch. We're going for deep muscles here. Gluteus medius and piriformis. You've got those deep muscles around that root chakra. One more breath cycle. Pause the motion and extend both legs forward. We're going to come into a bear pose to get into half forward fold. So tuck your feet next to your hips, either side. Coming onto the balls of the feet, hands to the floor, and then lift the hips up to the sky. Walk your hands back towards your feet, and then bring your hands to your shins. Make the letter L with your body. I'm going to turn sideways. So your legs are straight, but they're not hyperextended. So let me show you what hyperextended would look like with one knee. That's that pushing back feeling. Don't allow that to happen. Keep that knee slightly bent. Push your bottoms away and look towards the other end of your mat. Breathe. One more breath cycle. Bend your knees. And we're going to go into chair squat here. Bring your arms forward. Tuck your tail between your legs. If you had a tail like a dog tail, and we're tucking it between your legs, and we're in chair squat here. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And bring those hands back to the shins. Straighten the legs back out into half forward fold. And now imagine we're going to go into cat back. So round your back, draw your chest. It's like standing child's pose, actually. Drawing the chest towards the thighs, rounding the back, and then returning to your letter L. Do that again. We'll call it standing child's pose. Round back, chest towards the thighs, and then back to the letter L. One more time. Round the back, chest towards the thighs, back to the letter L. And now take the feet wide. I'm going to turn back to face you. Keeping your hands on those shins, taking the feet wide, and still making the letter L with our body. Breathe. Push your bottoms away and reach your crown of the head in the opposite direction. Half forward fold with wide legs. Same thing, let's do that standing child's pose with wide legs. So draw the belly down, round the back, and then return to the letter L shape. Second time, draw the belly down, round the back, and back to the letter L. One more time, Draw the belly down, soft bend in the knees, and return to the letter L. We're going to go into a windmill here. Keep your left hand on your left shin, or you can bring it all the way to the floor, and then lift your right hand to the sky. Another twist, like we did when we were seated in that open angle pose. Look up at the fingertips at the sky. One more breath cycle. And bring both hands back down. Bend your knees, rest your elbows on your knees. We're going to garland squat here. Now here's where you can use your block or your book to set your bottoms on your block. I'll show that option first. So I'm going to grab my block, set it down, place the hands on the floor, and then just set my bottom right down onto that block, keeping the legs wide, bringing the hands to heart center, drawing the elbows between the knees, and then splay open. So we kind of get a little opening up on the inside edge of the feet there, and a little stretch for the inner thighs. This is a non-working squat, connecting the base of the spine with our block. You can stay here in this version of garland squat, or if you want the working version, you can use one hand to push off with your block, stay low. And this is a very low squat. This is an intense pose. So if this is not for you, keep your bottoms on the block. Think about the energy at the base of your spine. One more breath cycle. And we're going to set our bottoms back down, all the way down to the mat. And extend those legs forward. We're going to go into seated forward fold here, stretching the base of the spine and the low back area. Hands below the knees. Draw the upper body forward, draw the elbows down. It's not important how close you get to your legs. It's more about how far you extend forward. That's going to give you the nice stretch on the backs of the legs and through the low back and hips. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And lift the chest. We're going to half thunderbolt pose next. Now that's an intense pose for bending the knees. So let me show it with the block first. Again, sitting on the block, or thick book. You'll bend your right knee and take the toenails to the mat. You're not sitting on the foot is still outside the hip. So we're getting a little stretch through the top of the thigh. This is less intense when I've lifted my hips. It's less intense on the knee. If you find that it's accessible to bring your bottoms all the way down, you can get rid of the block and set your bottoms directly on the mat. And you'll feel that's a little bit more flexion on the knee. So if that's not right for you, tuck that prop back underneath your hips. This is half thunderbolt pose. And we're going to take it into a fold once more, stretching the base of the spine. So you can keep the hands on the legs, or you can place both hands on the left leg. And draw that upper body forward again, adding that stretch at the base of the spine. Feel that stretch, the very low back, and maybe in the back of that left leg as well. Take 2 more breath cycles here. Bow your head. And then lift up out of the pose. Swing that foot back forward. Give the knees a little shake. And we're going to go into bound angle pose, an inner thigh stretch. Bend the knees and let the knees open off to the side, bringing the soles of the feet together. As if you were opening a book with your hands, place your hands on the outside edges of the feet. Sit tall. If you want to add a little motion here, you can, but make sure you keep it slow and controlled. Up and down with the knees. You'll find that that adds a little extra stretch as you go into that downward motion. You might be able to go a little bit deeper. And now pause that motion. We're going into bound angle fold. Another stretch to the base of the spine. Ease the chest forward. Maybe cup the toes instead of on the outside edges. You want to press your elbows against the inner legs. You can. Keep that body reaching forward. The entire upper body reaching forward. One more breath cycle. And lift up. Bring those knees back together. Give them a hug. And guess what? We have that entire sequence on the other side. So extend your legs forward again. And we'll start with that half shoelace. Draw your left foot in, step it over. Take the outside edge of the foot down to the mat, and the lowers away from your chest. And we go into that internal rotation, cradling that knee with both arms. Tuck the chin. Make the C shape, and lower your chest. In all three areas of the back body stretched out here in half shoelace pose. Option to add that fourth part of the pose, turning your head to the left and bringing your right cheekbone closer to that left knee. Take 2 breath cycles here. And then lift up out of the pose to go into our figure 4 stretch. Allow the ankle to rest on the thigh. Foot is floating. Hands come behind you, so you can slightly recline, bearing a little weight on the hands. And then bend that right knee. Adjust the position for your stretch. Remember, if you want more stretch, bring the foot a little closer. And then add that little rock motion, pushing the left foot towards the right, just an inch or two, not very far. With that deep stretch going for the left hip here, gluteus medius and piriformis. Now pause, extend both legs forward, and give the knees a little shake. We're going to walk into that bear pose so that we can come into half forward fold again and do those poses with the narrow feet and the wide feet. So draw your feet underneath you, hands to the floor, come into bear pose, and then walk your hands back towards your feet so they can land on your shins. Come into the letter L. Once again, I'm going to turn to the side. Don't hyperextend the knees. There's a little softness to the knees. And your gaze is forward in front of your feet, making that letter L. One more breath cycle here. And then bend the knees, going into our chair squat. Tuck your tail between your legs as you reach the arms forward and chair squat. Utkatasana. Breathe. One more breath cycle. Bring the hands back down to the legs and return to the letter L shape. Half forward fold. Going into our standing child's pose. Bend your knees. Draw the chest towards your thighs and then round the back. Return to the letter L. Twice more. Standing child's pose. Bend the knees. Round the back. And make the letter L. One more time. Bend the knees. Round the back. Tuck the chin. And back to the letter L. Now we take the feet wide. Keep your hands on your shins. I'm turning back towards you. Our toes are still facing forward. We're not rotating through the thighs and hips. Standing forward fold with wide feet. And once again, we go into that standing child's pose with wide feet. Bend the knees. Draw the belly down, round the back, and lift back into your L. Twice more. Bend the knees. Standing child's pose, and straighten the knees back out. Last time, draw the belly down, round the back, tuck the chin, and back to your wide shape. Going into windmill, opposite side. You can keep your right hand on your leg, or if you want, you can bring it to the floor. Take your left hand to the sky, follow it with your gaze. Windmill pose. Breathe. Push through your bottoms. Push the bottoms away from you. One more breath cycle. And bring that hand down. Bend the knees. Now you can externally rotate and rest your elbows on your thighs. This might be where you want to stay for your garland squat, or if you want to try using the block again, you can tuck it underneath and land your bottoms on your block for the non-working version of garland squat. Or again, the option to take that low working squat, push your bottom off the block, sinking your hips low, feeling that ball of energy at the base of the spine. One more breath cycle. And wherever we are, we're going to land our bottoms on the mat. So push the block away, land your bottoms on the mat, send your legs out long, keep those knees a shake, And we'll go into the last few seated poses here. Seated forward fold is next. Sitting tall, hands come below the knees for support. And now fold from the hips, drawing the upper body, the entire upper body, everything from the spine, the rib cage, everything reaching forward, shoulders relaxed. Not bending at the navel, bending at the hips. You can bow the head here and take 2 more breath cycles. And now lift that chest back up to go into half thunderbolt. Once again, if you need that extra prop underneath your hips to reduce the flexion of the knee, you can. Or if you're okay going into the half thunderbolt, just bend that left knee, take the toenails to touch the mat. The foot is outside the hip. We're not sitting on the foot. And into half thunderbolt pose here. Tall spine, shoulders relaxed. A little stretch on the top of the thigh, the quadriceps. And then adding a more intense stretch for the low back and hips. Placing the hands either one on each leg or both hands on the right leg. And coming into half thunderbolt fold. Bow the head. Breathe. One more breath cycle. Lift the chest. Swing that foot forward. Give the knee a little shake. And we'll go into our last 2 poses here in the seated configuration, bound angle and bound angle fold. Draw both knees towards you. Open the knees and place the soles of the feet together. Like you're opening a book with your hands, place them underneath the feet, lift up, relax the shoulders down, and lift the rib cage up. Feel that spine grow in length. Here, if you want to add that little slow and controlled motion of the knees, lifting up and down, and add to your stretch for the inner thigh and groin area. And then pause that motion if you've added it. Going into our fold, draw the upper body forward, maybe cup the toes, placing the elbows on the insides of the legs if you like. You don't have to, you can keep those elbows relaxed, or just adding a little extra stretch using your elbows to press against the inner legs. Drawing the upper body forward towards your screen. One more breath cycle. Lift the chest. Take your hands outside your knees to close the knees and give them a hug. And then sit tall. Extend your legs forward. And we are going to go into the hands and knees portion of our practice today. So if you want to add a knee pad or a hand towel, or you can even take your old yoga mat and double it up a little bit if you need some extra cushion under your knees. I'm going to turn sideways to you, but you don't have to turn sideways. We're going to start with table pose, or all fours, or quadruped. So I'm using a knee pad under my knees, spreading my hands wide like stars, and setting up alignment. So we want to align wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, neutral spine. So don't arch your back up or drop the belly down. You want to set that neutral spine up. You could set your table, like you could set a coffee mug on your back body. So table pose. And now we're going to go into that position where we move the spine around, cat and cow. Inhale, neutral spine. Exhale, round your back. Tuck your chin like you're a Halloween cat. And then inhale, draw the belly down, bring the heart forward, tilting the tailbone. Go between those 2 poses at your own pace. Exhaling in cat and inhaling in cow. If you want to deepen the range of motion here, in between the poses, bend your elbows and then straighten them back out. That'll add a deeper range of motion and create more of a serpentine motion of your spine, really getting those back bodies lubricated, flexible, mobile. Do one more pattern of cat and cow. And then return to neutral spine. We're going to go into a hover position, activating some core muscles here. So curl your toes onto the mat. You're going to lift the knees off the mat just a half an inch, but then you're going to come right back down. So we're only going to do that 3 times. Lift up with the knees, come back down. Press through the hands when you do it. Lift up, come back down. Last one, lift up and come back down. Keep your toes curled on the mat. We're going to go into a foot stretch here. Rock your hands back towards your knees, moving your hips further back towards your feet. You can stay here, and you're already stretching the soles of the feet here, the plantar. But if you want more, and it's accessible to you, you can bring your hands onto your thighs, and now we're bearing more weight through those feet, getting a deeper stretch. If this is too much, keep your hands on the mat. Take one more breath cycle here. And now crawl those hands back forward and release your toenails to the mat. Give them a little wiggle. We're back in table pose, and we're going to go into another pose that activates the muscles at the base of the spine, fire hydrant pose. So you're going to bear the weight on your your right knee. In fact, put the right knee more to the center so that you can float your left knee, flex the left foot, and we're going to lift the knee out to the side and then back down. Twice more. Lift and lower. Last one. Lift and lower. Relax both feet back down to the mat. I'm going to add a little rotation of the left ankle. The leg we just moved, that fire hydrant we did, go ahead and bend that knee so the foot is off the mat, and now just twist that ankle around. You can point and flex. You can rock it side to side. You can make circles. Just add a little ankle mobility here. And then finish by releasing the toenails back to the mat. We're going to go into downward facing dog now. So step back with your feet, curling the toes, and lift your hips up. Exhaling, lift up through the armpits. Press your thigh bones into the legs. Breathe. Keep your ears close to the arms. And then do a little prancing motion. Straightening and bending one knee at a time. Think about your tailbone lifting to the sky. Think about the energy at the base of the spine. Pause and set your feet as wide as your mat. Down dog with wide feet. Same thing, prancing motion. Bend and straighten one knee at a time. Keep lifting through the armpits. Lifting the tailbone. Pause and bring the feet back to that narrow position. We're going to go into down dog covers. So start to bend your knees, both knees bending, almost touch the mat, not quite, and then lift right back up. Twice more, just like that. Bend and lift back up. Last one, bend and lift back up. We're going to go into our three-legged dog. So let your right foot float up to the sky, and then tuck the knee to the nose. Do that again. Knee to nose. Last one, stretch it up, draw the knee to the nose, and then step that right foot forward. All the way up to the hands, and then drop the left knee down. Let the left toenails touch the mat. We're setting up for low lunge. In our low lunge, we're going to start with our low lunge cat and cow back, just like we did cat and cow on all fours. Now we're doing it from a lunge pose. Make sure your right knee is stacked over your right heel. So what you don't want is to be too far forward like this, too much tension on the knees. So make sure you've got a nice straight line here. Fingertips make little teepees, and now round your back, cat back, and drop the belly, lifting the heart forward. Go at your own pace here. It's a smaller motion when we do this in lunge, but we're still activating the back body muscles here, keeping that spine flexible. One more. Pause and bring both hands up to that right thigh, lift the chest. We're going to go into our crescent lunge, half monkey pose. So our first crescent, let's keep it small by keeping the right hand on the right thigh and lifting only the left arm. Lift that rib cage and come into a baby back bend, stretching through the left hip flexor. And now exhale, both hands come down to touch the mat, and then straighten that right leg, flexing the right foot, but keep the heel on the mat. I'm moving my left arm out of the way so you can see the leg. And now come back into your crescent, bend the knee, hands to the thigh, left arm up, maybe this time you're comfortable, both arms up, rib cage up, baby back bend. Exhale, fold, and straighten that knee, flexing the foot, half monkey. One more time. Forward, hands to the thigh, lift the chest. One or both arms up, rib cage up, half monkey, and back down. Last variation here, as we hold our half monkey, is to take your right toes and point them off to the right. You'll get a deeper stretch in the outside of the calf. One more breath cycle. Point the toes up, draw the knee forward, come back into our low lunge. Elevating the chest. We're going to add some eagle arms to this. Now, if that's not comfortable for you to take both hands off of your thigh, then just keep your hands on your hips here, because we're going to add a little fold. I'm going to show it with eagle arms, though. Both arms forward, left arm over the right, and then you can either rest the hands on your shoulders, or you can bring the backs of the hands together, or you can hold your own hand. Now, if you're feeling very tippy right now, and you need to place your hands back on your hips, you can. That's always an option. We're going to add a fold, so that might not feel stable for you. So keep it small. Maybe the first one is just a fold of a couple inches, and then back up. Using that core strength there. Second time, fold, maybe a little deeper, and lift up. Last one, folding from the hips, not from the navel, from the hips. And lift back up. Release. We're going to step back into plank and then go into child's pose. So place the hands on the mat. Sweep that foot behind you, stepping back into plank for strength. Press up through the shoulders, pressing into the earth with your hands. Draw the heels back away from you. Breathe. Knees down. Child's pose. Breathe. Look down at the mat, bow your head. Feel the energy in your back body, all the way down to the base of the spine, that root chakra. We're going to do that entire sequence on the other side. So I'm going to turn around to have the other side view. Again, you don't have to have a side view. You can remain facing your screen. Whatever works for your situation, your room. I don't know what your room looks like, so whatever works for you. If you've got this on a TV, if you've got plugged into the TV, then maybe that's a little bit easier for you to arrange your position. But I'm using a computer, so it's a little bit smaller. Let's go into table pose again. Quadruped pose. Setting up our alignment, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, big stars with your hands. Going into cat and cow. Inhale, neutral spine. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Go at your own pace there between those two poses. And then if you want that extra range of motion, bend the elbows as you transition between the poses. Maybe even touch the elbows all the way down to the mat. Think about that serpentine shape with your back body. One more pattern of cat and cow. And then we return to neutral spine. We're going to go into our hover position. So curl the toes onto the mat again. Make big stars with your hands. Remember, this isn't a big lift, just activating core muscles here. Push in with your hands, lift the knees, and lower. Second time, lift the knees and lower. Last time, lift the knees and lower. Keep your toes curled onto the mat as you walk your hands towards your knees. Your hips go back towards your feet. Remember, you can stay here for this stretch of the soles of the feet, or you can add the deeper stretch by placing your hands on your thighs and elevating your chest. You pick. Always about variety, variations that make it right for you. One more breath cycle. And release your hands down to the mat, crawling forward. Relax the toenails to the mat. And we'll go into that fire hydrant pose. This time, move your left knee a little bit closer to the center to give you some stability. Float the right, flex the right foot, and we're lifting that knee up to the maybe hip height if you can, and back down. Second time, and down. Last one. And down. Release both knees and feet to the earth, and then we'll do the ankle stretch or ankle mobility on that right foot. So bending that right knee to float that right foot off the mat. Start your little ankle mobility motions with the right foot. Maybe make some circles. Or add up and we'll crack. Well, it's Rice Krispies, right? Snap, crack, a pop. And then pause that motion. Bring it out into our down dog, prancing, and then wide down dog, prancing. So step back with your feet, curling the toes, elevate your hips, and set up your narrow feet down dog. Ears close to the arms, lift through the armpits, press your tailbone up to the sky, and then start your prancing motion, bending one knee and then the other. It's okay if your heels don't touch. One more each foot. And then step your feet as wide as your mat. Wide down dog, same thing, we're prancing again. Keep that tailbone reaching up to the sky. Keep your arms and ears close to each other. Pause the motion and come back into your narrow feet down dog. Keep lifting up to the armpits and we'll bend both knees, almost touch the mat and lift right back up. Second time. Hover and lift. Last one. Hover and lift. Going into three-legged dog. Bear the weight on your right foot. Float that left leg up to the sky and draw the knee to the nose. Second time. Three-legged dog. Knee to nose. Last time. Up to the sky. Knee to nose and then step that foot all the way up to your hands. You can take 2 steps to get there. And then drop that opposite knee down to the mat. Set your alignment. Make sure this foot, as you brought that left foot forward, make sure it didn't land in the middle of your mat. You want to have it over towards the left side to give you stability in your lunge pose. In lunge, we're going to set those fingertips like teepees and go into our cat-cow lunge pose. Round the back, tuck the chin, and then draw the heart forward, keeping the hands on the mat here. Smaller motion, smaller range of motion for that cat and cow stretch for the back body. Think about that motion at the base of the spine. And then pause. Lift your hands up to your thigh, elevating the chest. Going into our crescent lunge and half monkey pose. Let's keep the first one gentle by keeping that left hand on the left leg, right arm to the sky. Lift the rib cage, baby back bend. Exhale, fold, let your hands touch the mat, and straighten out that left knee, flexing the left foot, keeping the heel on the mat. I'm moving my arm out of the way so you can see that position. We're stretching the back of the left leg. Draw it forward, both hands up to the thigh, lift the chest. Lifting your right arm again, maybe both arms this time if you're comfortable. Rib cage up, baby back bend, crescent. Exhale, fold. And straighten that left knee, half monkey. One more time, draw it forward, hands to the thigh, lift the chest. One or both arms up, rib cage up, baby back bend. Exhale, fold into your last half monkey. And this is the one where we're going to take those left toes and point them off to the left for that deeper outer calf stretch. One breath cycle here. Toes up and draw it forward. Bring both hands up to the thigh, coming back into your lunge pose. Then go into that folded lunge with eagle arms. Again, if you want to just keep your hands at your hips, that's fine. And come into your fold with hands on the hips. We're working on core stability here, so engage those core muscles. If you want to add eagle arms, arms come forward, right over left, and then bend the elbows to let your hands rest on your shoulders, or back to the hands touch, or hold your own hand. Elbows at shoulder height, shoulders pressed down. Keep the first one small. Find your stability, folding forward from the hips. Engage the abdominal muscles and lift back up to vertical. Second time, lunge, fold, and lift. Last one, lunge, fold, and lift. Undo those arms. We're going to come out of our lunge into our plank and then our child's pose. So bring your hands to the mat as you step the feet back, curling the toes onto the mat. Lift up through the shoulders, press your heels away, breathe. Nice strong plank, and then knees come down to the mat to rest in child's pose. Good work, my friends. We had a lot of poses there on our hands, in our table poses, in our down dogs, and our final plank. So before we continue on with our next set of poses, we'll do a wrist stretch here. So we're going to take the backs of the hands to the mat. So elevate your chest slightly and place the backs of the hands on the mat with your fingertips pointing towards each other. I'm going to turn kind of at a diagonal so you can see that. Now you can keep your hips resting on your feet, or if you want to elevate, you can. It doesn't matter. We're going to bend the elbows out to the sides and then straighten all the way up. That's where you get the stretch. Do that a couple times at your own pace, bending out to the side and then straightening. One more. And we're going to go into lying on our belly pose. So you can get rid of your knee pad if you're using it. And come, doesn't matter which end you use, come to a lying on your belly pose or a prone pose. And we're going to do two poses here, Cobra and Sphinx. Little back extension. Extensions are so important for the health of our back body. So Cobra pose, press the pubic bone into the mat and bring your hands beneath your shoulders. When you lift your chest in Cobra pose, I want you to think about your nose going forward and your elbows going backwards, as if you're trying to make your spine as long as possible and create as much space between the vertebrae as you can. So don't dump into your low back. You want to keep that spine really long. So look forward in the direction of your fingertips. Press the pubic bone into the mat. Very important. Toenails are resting on the mat. Feet are relaxed. Take one breath cycle to prepare. On your next inhale, lift the chest. Draw your nose forward and your elbows back. Lengthen. Exhale, release. Rest your face on your hands. We're going to do one more Cobra, and then we'll transition to Sphinx pose. Hands come beneath your shoulders again. Press the pubic bone into the mat. Take one breath cycle to prepare. On your next inhale, lift the chest. Nose forward, elbows back. Lengthen the spine. Exhale, release. And once again, your face rests on your hands, resting pose. We'll finish our spinal extensions with Sphinx pose. So this time, bring your elbows beneath your shoulders. Palms are flat in front of you, making star shapes with your fingers. In this pose, everything that's already touching the mat stays on the mat. Nothing comes off the mat. Everything stays on. The only difference is when we go into the pose, we grow through the shoulders. But your pubic bone and your low belly stay attached to the mat. So look forward in the direction of your hands. Press the pubic bone firmly into the mat. Take one breath cycle to prepare. And now inhale, grow through the shoulders, pressing the elbows down, lifting up through the shoulders. Exhale, relax. We'll do one more Sphinx pose. Take one breath cycle to prepare, in and out. And then inhale, grow through the shoulders, long spine. Exhale, release. We're going to go into child's pose to counter that. Hands beneath your shoulders. push up off the mat, lock your knees in, and gently sink into child's pose. You want to always complement those spinal extensions with forward flexion. So feel that stretch in the low back. And in fact, let's add a rotation to really enhance the stretch. Walk your hands towards your screen and push your hips away. You can let your cheek or your chin rest against your shoulder. Go for that deeper stretch at the hip and low back area. And we'll switch it. Walk your hands away from your screen and push your hips towards your screen. Chin or cheek rests on the shoulder. Come back to center, and we're going to lie on our backs. So we're going to start though with a seated pose. So come into a seated pose where you have the long length of your mat along your spine, in the same axis of your spine. You're going to start in a seated pose, and we're going to do a C-shaped half roll. So start sitting upright, your hands are resting on the sides of your legs, and now start to curl into a C shape, lowering your back towards the mat, but don't come all the way to the mat, and then come right back up to a vertical spine. Go at your own pace there, doing that half C-shaped roll. Feel the energy at the base of the spine to initiate that C shape. Do one more like that. Coming back into your vertical spine. We're going to progress that pose into rolling like a ball, where your feet actually come off the mat. If that's not for you, continue to do what we were just doing, that C-shaped half roll. Or you can join me in rolling like a ball. Your feet will come up off the mat as you start that C shape. Let your low back touch, and then come right back up, planting the feet. Go at your own pace, either the C-shaped half roll where the feet stay on the mat, or coming into that rolling like a ball where the feet come off the mat. You pick. Make sure your back is in that C shape, especially if you're going down to the mat. There'll be a little massaging action on your spine too. Wherever you are, do one more and come back upright. And now we're going to make our way down to the mat, but as slowly as possible with that C-shaped roll down. Curl your body, tuck your navel into your spine. At some point, you're going to let go of your knees and slide your hands to your thighs and your hips. And come all the way down, long legs. Adjust the position if you need to. Coming into that long spine. We were just working those abdominal muscles, so let's go ahead and do a full body stretch here before we do any poses in the supine position. Let your arms come up overhead. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, yawn. Let your arms come down. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, stretch. Good work, my friends. We're going to go into a bridge sequence and then finish with stretches. So last strength area here, bridge poses. Bend your knees, feet are flat. Adjust your low back. Make a nice connection with your low back and your mid back and your upper arms. Press your upper arms into the mat. Palms are flat on the mat. Let's start with just a little tilting motion. By the way, make sure your knees are separated a little bit. As if there's a small balloon between your knees and you're pressing on the balloon, but you're not pressing the knees against each other. It's an imaginary balloon. And now, without coming off the mat, tilt your pelvis and then relax. It's the beginning of the bridge pose. Let's do that twice more. Tilt the pelvis and then relax those muscles. One more time, as if you were just starting to come off the mat, but not really, and then relax. Now we're going to add the actual moving bridge. So press your feet firmly into the mat. Press your upper arms into the mat. Tilt your pelvis, lift your hips, and then come right back down. You're going to find that if you really think about pressing the upper arms into the mat, you're going to have so much more stability in your bridge pose. So really press the upper arms into the mat, tilt the pelvis, lift up, and then lower back down. We're going to do that one more time. Moving bridge. Press the upper arms down, lift the hips up, and come right back down. Hug the knees. Maybe add a little sway if that feels good. We're going to go into a held bridge pose now. So plant your feet again. Put that imaginary balloon between your knees. Press the upper arms into the mat. Start to tilt the pelvis, lift the hips. Hold your bridge pose. Options to increase height. You can walk your shoulder blades together and interlace your hands beneath your body. Keep pressing your arms into the mat. One more option is to lift the heels. Keep pressing the hips up. Breathe. Energize through the entire body. One more breath cycle. If your heels are lifted, lower them. Walk your shoulder blades apart and bring those hips slowly, slowly, slowly back down. Hug the knees into the body. And a little sway. We're going to go into a little stretching pose here that also aids the digestive system. But it also gives a little rocking motion on the tailbone, and so that's why I've included it with our Root Chakra sequence. Look at your knees. You don't need to look at your screen. Your hands are on top of your knees, and you just keep those legs together. In fact, you can glue them together now. And push the knees away and pull them back in. Push and pull the knees in and out of your body, in and out towards your chest and away from your chest. This is called Apanasana. It's a great pose if you do have any feelings of being bloated or you ate too much. This is a great pose to energize that digestive system. And now pause, push the knees away, land the feet on the mat. We're going to go into supine bound angle. We did that bound angle pose when we were seated. We're doing it now lying down so that upper body can totally relax. The insides of the feet are together, the knees splay open. Walk the soles of the feet together. Your hands could rest on your belly, on the mat, or on the inner thighs, whatever's comfortable to you. Relax the shoulders as if they were falling into the mat. Close your eyes. In this pose, your spine is in a natural curve. The natural curve you have at the lumbar area is elevated off the mat ever so slightly. So you're in a baby extension. So when we come out of this pose, don't worry, we'll complement with one more flexion. So 2 more breath cycles here. Bring your hands to the outsides of the thighs so you can close the knees together. Draw the knees into the chest. And now we complement that little spinal extension with a little flexion. If you want, add a little sway. Upside down child's pose. Pause the motion. We're going into relaxation now. Bring the feet back down to the mat. You can keep your knees bent if that's comfortable to you, or you can extend the legs long for corpse pose, shavasana, palms open to the sky. Or any other pose that's comfortable to you. If you want to lie on your side in a fetal position, you can. Just stay comfortable, stay on the mat. I'm only sitting up so I can project my voice. But you stay comfortable, resting on the mat. Close your eyes. Remember, this was all about the root chakra poses, working on poses that focused and highlighted the base of the spine. So set your awareness now to the base of your spine. See how that feels, see how your back body feels. Energized, I hope. The affirmation that goes along with the root chakra is, I am grounded. So in your mind, just say that a few times. I am grounded. You can even add, I am safe. Remember, this was the root of our hierarchy of needs. I am grounded. I am safe. I am grounded. I am safe. Take 2 more breath cycles here. We're going to return to a seated position to finish our practice. So any way you want, you could do one sit-up, or you could roll to your side and push into the earth to come to a seated pose. You can sit cross-legged, or you can sit with your legs extended. If you prefer mermaid sit with both feet tucked to one side, you can come into mermaid sit as well. Whatever's comfortable to you. We'll finish our practice with a quote. And because this is all about the root chakra today, my quote is about roots. From a songwriter named Brian Lowe. He wrote, "Your branches can only reach high if your roots go deep." So let your roots go deep, my friend. Learn from all of our history, our experiences, everything that gives us roots and grounds us so that we can grow our branches. In fact, go ahead and grow those branches up to the sky right now. Bring your hands together. Let your thumbs touch your mind, your spirit breath in your body. The spirit in me honors the spirit in all of you. Thank you for joining our root chakra practice today. Namaste. And hope to see you again soon. And remember, keep breathing.